Boom. Okay, according to that, I am live. The page capture is failing. Let me switch this. There we go. Okay. Now, let me try the music. Okay, there's some music. I can make that a bit quieter. By the way, the track play. This Wharf Face by Shogunatai. And everything appears to be working, but I am just going to make that sound a little bit quieter. Let's just drop that by about 2. Let's put that in the background. Yeah, this is kind of risky doing this while I'm live streaming, but let's refresh. Good. Okay, so that should make the music tolerable and quiet. Let's just check the levels. And how you all doing? The other thing is that the comments at the moment. Oh, that's good. So I think that music's not too distracting at that level. What do you think? I think that's about right. I actually created a whole playlist with everything all equalized out. Oh, you know what? I want my light on. Turn on. There it is. Oh, there we go. Oh man, I had such a nightmare last week just with this not turning on. Oh, and there are the comments. Oh, we are good. You know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to increase the size of the font because last week people were pointing out that it was hard to read. So let's do that. Drop the music volume a little bit. Okay, let's drop it a little bit more. I'm sorry it's a little bit distracting, but I want to show off the music, so that's kind of part of the thing that I do, but I get you. Let me see if I can drop it a little bit more. Although it's always very risky when I do that. I don't want to go out of sync or anything on the... Yeah. It can mess with things when I do that, but let's try it. So right now it's on -22. Let's make it -24 dB. Okay, let's do that. And let's go in and out. Those levels should be a lot lower now. Let me double check that. And then we'll be good to go. Can't really hear anything on that. Well, there you go, that's pretty quiet. So that's good enough. By the way, this is Future Possibilities by Matagaijinka. And how you all doing? Oh man, so last week again, I am sorry, that took half an hour, the start streaming button just never displayed last week. Yeah, if I could raise the level of my voice or talk closer to the microphone, I can do that. This is going to make some noise when I move the microphone, however, bear that in mind. Let's try that. Well, that should make my voice a little bit clearer. And I'm going to turn off the monitor now. So yes, James O'Hara. I don't know what that means, James O'Hara, but that's okay. Mogberry Pie has excellent taste, and nice to see. I don't recognize that username, so very good to have you. So let's say hello to the gang here. Who have we got here? We've got Sergeant Bilko, Robert, old dude, good to see you indeed. Shaboom, shaboom, la 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 la, shaboom, shaboom. Shakalama. I'm probably supposed to know what that means, but anyway. Who else we got here? We got Nelm5. Hey, long time no see, Nelm5. Good to see you. We got Matagaijinka, and you are playing right now, albeit only when I stop talking. But it's actually, this is a very good track. Caroline Van Oostenburg, very good to see you. And that's right, Matagaijinka we saw before. Mogberry Pie, thank you for liking the music. It's good to see all you beautiful people here. By the way, I think I skipped out. No, I did not skip out. Steve Miller, greetings and salutations. The voice himself. Wow, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning or something. In fact, no, I'm thinking West Coast time. You're East Coast time, so you are just waking up and having a delicious coffee, I'm sure. I've always wanted. I've still obsessed about getting one of those soundproof things that Steve has around him on his videos. I actually saw one being sold for like it was crazy. It was like $1,500. There's something like a cardboard box that you could record in, which I still thought would probably be a good idea for this sort of thing. But anyway, I'm back. I'm not really like the topics that I'm posting are some topics which are kind of big on Facebook for me at the moment. So I guess I'm going to go through those. I'm just going through some tweets and some news, whatever that interested me this week. And if it all goes well, I might even hang around and do a Japanese little postscript show after this on the air at 12 o'clock. So hang around and enjoy the sounds of future possibilities by Mata Gaijinka, who is right here in the comments and makes awesome, beautiful music. Wei Gaijin, good evening to you. And absolutely, says Steve Miller, enjoying that coffee, I'm sure, is what he means by that. Let me see if I can make the comments even bigger. Someone said the other week that the comments are too small, and indeed I am streaming in 720p. I could do it 1080p, but I don't want to mess with stuff, right? So yes indeed. So based on that, let's go into me Facebook, I think. In fact, let's do some regular Twitter stuff first. So let's go into here. Boom. That's the Flipboard app. And let's go into what I've been tweeting. Today I've been catching up, so I've been tweeting like way too much stuff today, so I'm just going to skip over a lot of stuff. But yeah, at the Winter Sports Championships held in Hokkaido recently, they had an Ainu opening ceremony, which I thought was very good. It's nice to see, actually. It's about 60 years behind New Zealand, but Japan slowly but surely, at least in Hokkaido, is starting to get in touch with its indigenous and appreciate its indigenous culture, which is good. The Ainu thing is totally fascinating, by the way, as well. These are people who have been in Japan for as long. Well, some people debate it, but the general accepted position is that they've been in Japan at least as long as the Yamato Japanese, who came in from China and Korea. They came in from the north, from the Kamchatka Peninsula. They're actually directly connected to, and they used to trade with Alaska and people on the west coast of the United States. They're basically like basically all of those sort of tribes that go all the way up Kamchatka and the Aleutian Islands. And yeah, they used to live all the way down through Honshu and so on. And Japan's always been a little bit complex. They see them kind of as Siberian natives that kind of came and squatted in Japan. Japan's always been a bit ambiguous about how it saw them, but it's getting on with that. Oh, there is me. I started a live stream. That's very good. Someone actually, that's me responding. These are my tweets, and this one I just gave a few minutes ago. Somebody actually gave that question. Yes, I was being a little bit rude about it, but you've seen this before, and we've done a 2.5 Oyajis on this before. On the Vegas for Trump. Here's Japan's policy for Muslims. We've talked about this, and this is just word for word, just complete, utter, bullshit. In fact, let's just go through just because it is unpleasant. But apparently, a lot of people go around the internet and they say, yeah, we should be like Japan, like this, where Japan bans the Muslims. And no, it doesn't. Japan is the only citizenship that country that does not give citizenship to Muslims. Absolute bullshit. If you ever want to read up a really, really interesting two-country relationship, read about the relationship between Japan and the world's biggest majority Muslim nation, Indonesia. Japan has a very special relationship with Indonesia, super close, and that's why Indonesian nurses are the first nurses being invited to Japan to look after the old people. Indonesia's War of Independence, where the Muslim-backed Javan nationalists overthrew the Christian Dutch, backed mostly by Japanese after World War II. They've invested in the whole development of that economy. They're a bit behind the times with adapting, as they are with adapting for any culture. But there's been a massive drive on Islamic tourism, Islamic banking. Japan is really opening up completely to Muslim immigration. So, at least by its own standards, it's not pretty close to immigration to begin with. But absolute utter horseshit. That first sentence. Permanent residency is not given to Muslims. Utter horseshit. Propagation of Islam is banned. There's no banning on propagation of any religion. Hell, this is the country that had a cult that put nerve gas on the subways. You can propagate any freaking religion that you like. Hell, given some of the crazy, cults that are in Japan. I mean, Islam's one of the nicer ones. I mean, geez. In the University of Japan, which I think they mean Nihon Dayaku, which I don't know what the hell they're talking about. There are hundreds of universities in Japan, but I've worked in a risk management company, for example, for the largest insurance company in Japan. And, you know, we hired a whole bunch of Arabic speakers. You know, I mean, it's a subject that the government's promoting people learn. Japan actually, oh, by the way, Japan has like another really interesting two-country relationship that Japan has. Iran. There are heaps of Iranians in Japan and heaps of Iranian permanent residents. Japan is actually, even though America has like oil sanctions on Iran, Japan still buys a very substantial proportion of its oil from Iran, and it actually has an exemption from the United States to keep trading with Iran, in spite of the fact that Islamic fundamentalists in Iran, Shiite fundamentalists in Iran, you know, kidnapped all the whole embassy staff and all that sort of stuff. You know, the whole, you know, Ayatollah and the US embassy crisis and all that stuff, and for all of that, when the whole world cut off Iran, Japan kept being friends with Iran and has massive human interchange with that. You know, and that's not Arabic, that's a different subject, but Arabic as well. Yeah, no, Japan, you know, it depends on these countries. It imports all of its energy. So, you know, Japan is the only country in the world with negligible numbers of embassies in Islamic countries. Horseshit. Absolute horseshit. For a start, I mean, New Zealand, I mean, it doesn't just make sense on all sorts of levels. What the hell is an Islamic country? Are they talking about the Middle East? Are they talking about Indonesia? Just utter horseshit. Actually, Japan depends on importing all of its oil from the Middle East. It's great friends with Indonesia. I mean, you know, it's just stupid. So yeah, I mean, I've been through and I've debunked this stuff before at 2.5 Oyajis, and I just talked about what utter horseshit this was. But you know, that's sort of what else we go. One cannot import a Quran published in the Arabic language. Horseshit. Who's making this shit up? Muslims must follow Japanese law and language. Well, everyone, must follow Japanese law and language. There's no laws in Japan about must follow language. I mean, again, that's just made up bullshit. The Japanese, it's almost completely every single point here. The Japanese government is of the opinion that Muslims are fundamentalists and unwilling to change to their Muslim laws. No. Utter horseshit. Muslims cannot even rent a house in Japan. Horseshit. Horseshit. I mean, what do you think all of the Muslims in Japan do? Do they sleep by the side of the road? Are you kidding? There is no Sharia law in Japan. Well, again, yes, just complete utter bollocks. But thank you for asking. The person asked for my view if I'd heard of this, and is it true? There's your answer. Congratulations. What else we got here? Premium Fridays. Last week we had the first. Was it last week? The last Friday of every month in Japan is now a Premium Friday, which means that everyone gets to go home at 3 o'clock. The implementation actually was only something like 3% of companies actually did it. My company didn't. Well, actually, my son had influenza, so I was at home looking after him that day. But I didn't notice anyone particularly going home. Is there anything here about how many actually did it? Yeah, there's not a lot going on with it at the moment, but it is the latest thing. It's like cool biz or warm biz. It's a government says, hey, let's do this, which will get people out, going home 3 o'clock on one Friday in the month and out spending money and making the economy turn. Sounds like a good idea. I'm all for it, but you know, we'll see how it picks up. I get the feeling it won't really catch on because it's generally considered bad form. It's like you know, slacking off if you're going home from work early. Most companies, even if they give lip service to it, will probably, in fact, you know, be full of people still working to and past normal hours just because they don't want to look bad. DJ Okawari, Japan has accepted 6 Syrian refugees. I'd like to see that. You know what? I saw the numbers on that recently. Japan, we need a premium week. Damn straight, Sergeant Bilko. The figures came out recently and they were higher than I expected, but they were more than 5. But it's a very low number. And you know, and I've said before, I love Japan. I'm very appreciative of its immigration policy that allowed me to come here and become a permanent resident. But that said, I think it's in violation of its international obligations for all the humanitarian treaties that it's on. I mean, it's not just enough to write paychecks to fund refugee camps. In Jordan, you know, you got to take a few in. It's the whole idea of, you know, helping people who are out in the street and in trouble, and that's what the situation is. 3.6%, very good, Olivia D. Wow, that's the number that I heard somewhere. So I verify that sounds like something that I heard on the internet. which is, if that's good enough for the US president to decide policy on who to bomb, it's good enough for us on this show to say that that's a valid statistic. So yeah. Okay, well that's it's an interesting one. And again, as I say, I think Japan's, they've got, it's kind of funny, they make a big deal about, is it Sugihara Chiune, the Japanese diplomat who wrote a whole bunch of transit visas for Jews to help get them out of, was it Poland or Germany or something, in World War II. However, that was done against, that wasn't by instruction of the Japanese government, that was just a very nice man. But Japan likes to hold up and say, well, Japan is these awesome people. Well, it was in spite of the Japanese government. I wish they would get a little bit more with the program with this stuff. But that said, yes, indeed, the immigration's sort of tight. What else have we got here? We've got Yamato doesn't have enough employees. If you want a job in Japan, I'm assuming that the delivery companies, they are running, they don't have enough people to fulfill all of the deliveries. With all of the online shopping and stuff in Japan, I mean, one thing I should say, actually, one of the many things about Japan that I just cannot live without, having been in Japan for 20 years now, the food is the obvious one. The couriers, the home delivery, I don't know how good home deliveries and the postal services are in wherever you are, but in Japan, they'll come to your house, and if you're not there, they'll take it home again and leave a little note for you, and you can specify the exact hour and the exact day that you want that parcel to come, and it will come on that day. And if you don't send anything back, they'll keep coming back every day until they catch you at your house. In New Zealand, you get it takes 3 weeks to, go across the road. And then when it shows up, you've got to go down to the post office to pick it up. In Japan, they will actually, it gets there in 4 seconds, and they'll actually keep coming back until they get you. It's really, really good, but it's obviously very labor intensive. But this is, Japanese culture. It's about, showing your gambaru spirit by continuing to show up and have this great service. And Yamato, Kuroneko, the black cat symbol delivery service, is the best one. Sagawa, I have issues with. They're just not, they don't have quite the polished service. It's a bit like, flying on Delta Airlines after you've been on ANA. That's kind of Sagawa and Black Neko. They both just deliver parcels, and you could say, well, who gives a crap? But, they're nice people at Yamato, so I really feel sympathetic there. But the Labour Union is now complaining that they're just getting so crushed by all of these online shopping deliveries. But it's that is how that goes. I see that there is a question here from John Smith, and I think I know what this is about. Is it true that non-Japanese males married to Japanese females will be listed as a note and not a spouse on their koseki? That's a good question. Here's how that works. So koseki is the family registration. It's a special log. It's a bit like the Doomsday Book of Great Britain. That has existed for the family register of Japan. It's existed from pre-modern times, and it's how the whole population is tracked in Japan. To be on it, you have to be basically, when you were born in Japan, the birth is recorded as being attached to a family. And the way that they track families and population is that when people grow up and get married, they, by default, you can apply to have this happen differently, but by default, the woman's koseki that she's had since she was born will automatically be attached to the man that she marries. So it's a physical attachment of her to her husband's koseki, and by that her name will automatically be amended in law to the man's name. It means that in addition to the marriage certificate and everything that you get your official marriage documentation in Japan, your koseki will also be merged, which and when you have children, your children will be under your koseki, and then they'll grow up, and if they're a boy, whoever they marry will join onto their koseki, and if it's a girl, they'll jump on and join with the person that they marry, if they marry. So this all works very well until you introduce the existence of people that don't have koseki, people who are not born in Japan, who are not Japanese citizens, like me. So this was always a little bit of this has caused a lot of hassles through the years, because a lot of local governments, for example, would actually track whether people, for example, when they would, because foreign people, men and women, by the way, are not recorded on the koseki, like they don't have their own koseki. It means that, for example, if a woman or a man has children, and those children are attached to the parents' koseki, but the foreigner is not a Japanese citizen, the parent will appear by looking at the koseki itself. If you don't go and research up the marriage certificate, they look like they're single parents. And there have been cases where, for example, Japanese wives or Japanese husbands were getting having city council people coming around and saying, hey, you can get special benefits if you're a single parent. And they're like, no, I am. And this has caused a lot of stress through the years. There's no nationwide standardized procedure around the koseki right now, but what most places, particularly in Tokyo, which have a lot of foreigners, more than 1 in 20 marriages in Shinjuku right now involve a foreign spouse, male or female. So they're very used to the issues that this causes, and this makes issues for them as well. So what they do is that on the koseki itself there is a notes, a comments column. And what they will do now is they will actually include what track is playing? Let's check that out. This is Shogunai Tai, and the track is, can I display that? It's Do Something. They will write in the column now, they will say that is actually married to this foreign person, this registration. So they will actually now include a note on the koseki mentioning that they are married and this is the husband or the wife. So they will be listed as a spouse, but not in the way that a normal spouse is in terms of the koseki being merged, because one of them doesn't have a koseki. I think it's becoming increasingly common now. The problem is, however, though, that because the foreigner doesn't have a koseki, and particularly if that foreigner is a man, so the other it can be seen as good or bad. If a Japanese marries, they as I said before, they automatically have to take the name of the husband, and they have to apply to the family court if they want to apply the other way around and take the wife's name, which about something like quite a high number, 5% of Japanese do. In Japan, you cannot have separate surnames. By law, you are prohibited from having separate surnames, and you are prohibited by law from having these hyphenated surnames that are very common now overseas. You have to choose the surname of one koseki or the other. When you have a foreigner, there's no koseki to merge, so it means that by default, for example, the Japanese wife does not adopt the name of the husband. In fact, they keep separate names, even though if you're Japanese and you have a koseki, it's actually against the law to keep separate names. If you're a foreigner, by law, the names are actually separated by default. There are people, feminists in Japan, who lobby for the right to have separate surnames, and it's been rejected, over and over again. And I've always said, hey, just go marry a foreigner, And then the problem was, so we kept separate names. I kept separate names for a long time until my son was born. No, I said I want everyone in the family to have the same name at least. Come on, because it's going to be confusing enough with me not having a koseki. And my wife begrudgingly went along and accepted taking my surname about 2 or 3 years into the thing, and we had to go to the family court and actually put a petition before the court saying why she wants to change her name. And we said, because we're freaking married. So the system is definitely not well designed for handling foreigners, but it is getting better. There is now consideration that there didn't used to be. Which reminds me there, not that. Let me stop weird notifications while that's happening. And so John Smith, I hope that helps you with the question about koseki. It's kind of complicated. Different city councils handle it differently, but generally now they will put in a full description that this person is actually married to this person. It's getting slowly better, but it's Japan, everything in baby steps. So Fujitsu is now allowing telecommuting people to work online, which is kind of revolutionary in Japan. I've worked at a company in Japan that allows you to do that, but it was a foreign company. The anti-smoking rules are coming into force in Japan. If you ever got frustrated, Japan is the last country in the world where you have to put up with passive smoke. That was Kay and Kodos, good to see you. Which track? Oh, by the way, also good to see you there, Nicholas Rapp. Which track was that you liked? The one playing right now, or the one just now? I think that was Sunshine Bass. That was my one. I hope you quite liked it. All this music, by the way, is downloadable and free. Hey, Corp Q-sama. Good to see you, and that's a name I don't recognize, so welcome to Tokyo Tonight 2, and good to see you. So with this, Japan is like the last country in the world where you have to go and put up with people smoking while you are having food in a cafe or in a bar. they're finally bringing in mandatory rules with penalties for places that have smoking, so basically smoke free. However, the one exception are these Japanese sort of snack bars, these really small, like restaurants smaller than the room that I'm in right now, where old people like to go and hang out. Cajon Groove Guide, hey, good to see you, and I'm glad to be of any information. So yeah, apparently there is this kind of stereotypical. Japan has these little bars called snack, which are basically little small bars which people open up for them and 4 or 5 of their best friends, and they want to be able to smoke in those things. And seriously, I mean, you can't really set up a non-smoking area. There are some lobbying for exceptions for these kinds of very small places, but generally speaking, very soon actually, I think it's going to be next month. I think from April it's going to come into effect that you're going to see a lot of places are going to become actually legally smoke-free in Japan. So yeah. Hey, Kane Curtis, it has been a while. Well, it's been my fault as well since I took a break from December. But good to have you back. And Bradley Ford, excellent to see you back as well. Coming back on that as well on my break, it was a good break actually. I didn't really plan to take it. It was but at the same time, it was a good thing. And I'm bringing in little innovations like the music thing, and I'm always playing with things. I do want to use OBS for this, by the way, and it's a lot lighter, but I couldn't get it going today. John Smith, it is a pleasure anytime. And by the way, all of you guys, actually, you know what, the great thing about making the comments bigger like this is that actually I'm looking straight ahead at the screen, and they're actually much easier for me to read, so I can hopefully respond to you guys much better. Caffeine Jedi, oh my god, it's Caffeine Jedi. Everybody go subscribe to Caffeine Jedi because she makes awesomest shit. Even her shitty stuff is excellent. Even like her just talking random shit stuff is excellent. But she actually like produces and writes stuff, and she's awesome. And you'll be glad to know, Caffeine Jedi, I haven't even talked about the racist sandwiches yet, so we will get to that because I know that's probably what you came here for. Hiroshima Zeb, hello from Osaka, Spanish man living in Japan. Greetings. ¿Qué tal? Yo no he hablado español para 20 años, pero realmente yo he olvidado todo. I can't remember anything. Yes, OBS is supposed to be better than what I am using, although I paid a lot of money, like a couple of $100 for the software that I'm using, and it's kind of flexible, but it's really heavy, even on my super high-powered system. So what else have we got here? This was kind of a tweet thread above of someone who discovered that their tweet was being used in a BBC documentary and their reaction to that. I won't go into that. The sun will suck. Yeah, what's new? Oh yeah, this one down here. Sakura, the cherry blossoms in Japan are currently running on schedule. I mean, it's wonderful. In Japan, even the cherry blossoms run on time, like trains. At the moment, they're not running ahead of schedule. They're like the cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C. My man Steve Miller will be probably aware of this. They're like 22 days early this year. This is what you get everywhere with all the global warming, climate change stuff. You never know when stuff is going to, spring is going to start. But in Japan, it is running bang on schedule, which means that the Hanami for April 1st, this is a complete fluke. I saw and against the idea that it was decided in January to set when the Hanami should be, but it looks like it's actually going to be, man, I hope that guy bought some lottery tickets, because it looks like it's going to be right on time. April 1st, the YouTube Hanami, Yogi Park, it's going to be awesome. Yo no hablo español hace 12 años. Me he olvidado todo. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me, Lamar and Coche. I really have forgotten. In fact, it was kind of funny. Once I took a Japanese proficiency test in Kyushu University when I was on my way to Spain, although I studied Spanish and Japanese in New Zealand. And I met a whole bunch of Argentinian people, super cool Argentinian people. But speaking to them in Spanish in the middle of my exam and the breaks between the exams completely messed up my brain for that. And no, I don't remember, but thank you for saying, Sam. What else have we got here? Yeah, we've got people that debate about immigration. I didn't have the chance to read that one properly. There's some stuff here about that extra right-wing kindergarten. This was funny. Have a look at the stats of this guy. Now, I'm not going to, suggest performance enhancers have been used, but when this man is 1,799 centimeters tall and 737 kilograms, which is pretty light, given that is like, How tall is that? That is like 17 meters. Is that right? 17.99 meters. That person is like 6 stories tall. I mean, not full Godzilla, but this guy could probably, his swing is probably going to knock over a building. I mean, there's some seriously screwy stuff going on with human growth hormone abuse, I think, lately in sports. Okay, this is one of the ones that I wanted to talk about today. Oh, hey, Lamar and Coche. The reason I learned Spanish was I wanted to go to Argentina. And you're in Buenos Aires. I went to Buenos Aires in 1995, and I loved it. I love Buenos Aires. I still want to go back to Buenos Aires one day. But Buenos Aires is the reason I learned Spanish. So when I was in high school in New Zealand, we had like soccer tours and rugby tours that would go to Argentina from New Zealand. And I went to an all-boys school, 2,500 boys. Yeah, and these guys came back, so I had no contact with females for like 5 years when I was in high school. And when one of the soccer tours got back from Argentina, these guys came back, and they were all just saying, this country has the most beautiful women anyone has ever seen. And the captain of the soccer team actually, after he finished high school, flew back to Argentina and married a girl that he met on the soccer tour. And I was forced to learn Latin for 5 years. So between the stories about the steaks and the women in Argentina and having learned Latin and wanting to make it useful, I took Spanish classes at university, and although I went to Madrid when I was studying Spanish, I made sure I was flying back through Argentina, and I got to hang out in Buenos Aires and had an excellent time. Although the twist of the story is that because I was in a youth hostel with lots of Brazilians from Curitiba, I actually learned probably as much Portuguese as Spanish on the way back. I've forgotten all of it now, but good times. So I very much do like Buenos Aires and Argentina, so very good to have you on board there. So okay, let's talk about this. This is a powerful video. It shows why the ghost in the shell whitewashing has real consequences. Whitewashing and appropriation. And you know, look at me. I'm a middle-aged, bald white guy. You know, I shouldn't even be touching this with a barge pole, okay? Caveats and understandings. And look, I understand the idea with you know, the sensitivity about appropriation. And let's step back for a minute. I'm from New Zealand. We have Maori culture that we take great pride in. And we know for a fact that, for example, when Argentinians take when, for example, you get drunken British tourists or Australians making fun of us by doing the kind of drunken, funny, you know, war dances and stuff like that, people get upset in New Zealand. Frankly, it used to sort of just be Maori, and the Pākehās like me would be, what are they getting upset about? But now, you know, I think people take enough pride in our domestic culture and the indigenous culture of New Zealand that, yeah, everyone kind of gets upset when we see culture being sort of misused like that. Doesn't mean that you need to look at appropriation as always being an evil. I think actually appropriation is a good thing when it's done with good intention, when it's done to sort of, you know, pay homage to a culture or out of genuine enthusiasm and respect. Even if it's executed wrong, I think it's okay. But there again, there are people who are going to always claim ownership and claim offense. You know, you're always on thin ground, especially if you look like me. So of course we all know about Ghost in the Shell. They've got Scarlett Johansson, who is hot. I mean, not relevant, but she is. And she's here's the thing for me. I haven't seen Ghost in the Shell, so I've got no right to talk about it or read any of the base literature for it. But so I'm not that familiar with it. But I am familiar that she is playing a character who is Japanese in the original anime, and yeah, so it's got this PSA, Ghost in the Shell. It's a 2-minute short film. You should watch it, but spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you the whole thing right now. And Caffeine Jedi, by the way, who's voice... Oh, crap. Sorry. This is why I don't hold the microphone close, because I will just deafen everybody. Oh, jeez. I'm not used to the microphone being there. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not going to touch it anymore. Sorry about that. Caffeine Jedi has very strong opinions about Hispanic as a race or whatever. She's done very good videos on the subject. Anyway, so the video goes like this. There's a girl going, a little Chinese, well, I can't tell her by the credits. Her last name is Lee, which means that she could be Korean, although I see from the other credits and assuming that she's a child of the people who made the video. Yes, well, this is another thing with Ghost in the Shell, but in fact that's an excellent point. But let's come back. She is maybe Chinese or Korean. It doesn't really matter in America because Asians are all the same in America. But of course, you know, out in this part of the world, it does actually make a difference where they're from. And I'm curious as to, you know, what her ethnicity actually is, whether it's Chinese or Korean, because they're not the same. Asian is not a race. Neither is Hispanic. But anyway, she goes through a bookshop and she sees all of the female cartoon, you know, comic book heroes. She sees Wonder Woman and a bunch of other people that I should know, but I'm just not cool enough to know about. And they're all like powerful, strong white women. And, you know, she goes through and she feels kind of sad being able to find a character that looks like her, while all the white girls who are also there in the comic book shop are all enjoying reading comics about strong white women heroes. There is no Asian hero until she discovers a book with you know, a graphic comic novel of Ghost in the Shell, and her face lights up. Oh, I found an Asian book for Asian people, and she takes it up and she buys it. And then years later, the older, jaded hipster version of herself, with the sort of shaved sides of the head and everything, looking very hipster, she sees a movie poster for Ghost in the Shell, and it's got Scarlett Johansson on, and she just looks kind of traumatized by it. And see, this really affects people, even though it's just a story. This affects people. So I look at that, and you know, I react like like an insensitive white person. I say, what's your freaking problem? Seriously. And more than that, I live in a country where I'm the minority, and where actual, you know, very rare, but actual, you know, Asian nationalists and racists exist. So the idea that people would object to the facial appearance of, you know, someone casting in a movie, to me, I'm like, oh my god, that's a bad person. That girl, that cute little girl, she's a racist nationalist. That's how I mean, that was my visceral reaction to it. I'm appreciating it's the other way around, actually. She's seeing something that she considers to be a part of her culture being appropriated, taken by Hollywood, and turned into something for white people that extinguishes that which she saw value and validation in it. The fact that it validated that, hey, here's something for her, for Asian people, and Hollywood's taken that away from her, and she feels sad. I kind of get it, but the thing is that she's an Asian American and this is Japanese. And the funny thing about this is when you get all of these Asian, you know, American groups who are claiming appropriation with Ghost in the Shell, 100% of people in Japan, I can tell you, 100% of people in Japan not only don't give a shit, but they actually think, like I do, that Scarlett Johansson is hot, and they're really glad that she's in the movie that's based on their thing. I mean, hell, what was that movie? There was a recent, quite good science fiction. Tom Cruise does a lot of science fiction. We all know why, of course. He did one based on a Japanese manga, and it was good. I mean, you know, everyone's, Tom Cruise wants to do one of our stories. That's awesome. You know, I mean, it's sort of like, and the reason that, so there's been a very good discussion about this happening on Facebook. So maybe this is a good chance to go over to Facebook. Hopefully, there's not going to be any porn or anything there. No, there's not. It's alright, it's all good. I can actually show you my windows because I have a boring life. Here is the story. Trump is Victor's complaining about Trump. So let's see if I can find it. Really good discussions going on, actually, and there are two. One is about in fact, I'm pretty sure this one's about the racist food. Yeah, this is really good. This is what we'll talk about next, racist food. But the other one is actually oh yeah, I was making fun of somebody. So yeah, Samantha Ueno's making in fact, this is still the food thing. Your last name is Ueno. Her last name is Ueno, so Samantha's last name is Ueno because she married a Japanese person. Stranger shit has happened in the world, but apparently Heidi Wiltermuth has decided your last name is Ueno and you can't see a problem with putting chopsticks into your food unless you've made up your name. So basically she's basing on your name, she's making a whole bunch of sort of assumptions about race and cultural identity, which I just found to be kind of offensive. I shouldn't have done this, but I did it. I'm a bad person, but this was kind of funny. I'm just going to share this with you. Heidi, your name is Heidi, so I'm guessing you speak Austrian and like running through the mountains. It's a good series, you know, the animation and the Heidi story. So you like running through the mountains in the spring. Why aren't you running in the mountains? Seriously, if your name is Heidi, get with the program. Yeah, that was bad. I shouldn't have done that. I'm a bad person. So anyway, this post is boom shakalaka, it's down here. And yeah, I put my own thoughts in here, and there's some really good discussions about this. I mean, on the one hand, I can be empathetic. I know that it exists, and I was talking about this with By McNeil made some really good comments on the racist food one. The racist food one I will also mention. The racist food, Age of Tomorrow. Thank you, Sergeant Booker. You always come through, don't you? Based on a Japanese light novel. Who gives a shit if it's Tom Cruise being the guy, right? Why Major is always naked? Who knows? Maybe that's just how they go. Yeah, and Jerome O'Kelly, some good points. So I've noticed a lot of people actually very knowledgeable about this as well. Let's talk about the racist food, because I see it's drawing attention. Lysander 45, very good to have you here. Edge of Tomorrow, I do like that. As a minority, forgive me. Thank you, Kefman Jedi. But your name isn't Heidi, so you can't completely forgive me for that last one. Let's talk about the race. But so on the one hand, look, I do get that inappropriate appropriation exists. Okay, I can definitely think about it from New Zealand. I can think about it whenever I mean, hell, Australians making fun of my accent, I think pretty much does it. Well, not that my accent's really very New Zealand anymore, but there's no question that ignorant and offensive cultural appropriation happens. But see, here's the thing: racist food photography is social media fueling cultural appropriation. There's an idea that these people, like for example, when photographers shoot food that they want to portray as exotic, that they are. Is that really sticking straight up? And I thought those chopsticks were lying across, but those chopsticks are actually okay. So I must admit, I do feel a slight awkwardness about that. But seriously, that's not. So people trying to make something look more Asian, they get some bamboo in the background, and get some bamboo flute music playing, and like the Karate Kid, and I don't know, put some neon katakana or something like that. Sure, you want to make it look like it's in the right setting, right? But the problem is that they use stereotypes, sometimes born out of ignorance. Chopsticks sitting straight up into rice or noodles can be seen as offensive in some cultures. Well, it's not so much offensive, it's just what you do at a funeral ceremony. It just makes everyone feel super sort of awkward and like, oh, they start crying about grandpa. Hey, someone's from Beijing. Oh, by the way, Salidi, it's good to see you, Salidi. And Hong Kong and Beijing are here as well. So there is this idea that you can actually have cultural appropriation in food, and of course it sounds inherently kind of stupid, but there is this idea that simplification. Yeah, I mean, basically, people feel like that's my food, that's my culture. You're abusing it. Well, I mean, and on this, I'm thinking like every sushi that I have in Australia. I mean, you go to a sushi bar in Australia, it's all full of avocado, fried chicken, mayonnaise, grilled onions, and I saw that, and I was like, hello Holland, Robert XXX00001. Like, who would eat this? It looks disgusting to me, but I tried it and it's actually quite nice. And now actually when I go back to Australia, I actually like the sushi roll with the fried chicken and the grilled onions around it. You'd never get it in Japan, but I think it's if it tastes good, and I mean, it's food, you're allowed to appropriate it. But that said, it did get me thinking, how inappropriate or incorrect appropriation. But there again, you think about just about every Japanese Western meal is kind of arguably like this. Omrice, or a lot of Japanese Western meals are basically, Japanese curry, is basically misappropriated. I mean, the whole language of Japanese is misappropriated between Chinese and English, often incorrectly. So I don't know. It's kind of like on the one hand, I can intellectually understand that negative appropriation exists, and believe me, I grew up in Australia. People are ignorant and racist right throughout. It's actually considered a good quality in Australia if you if you have a good sense of humor about how ignorant and racist you are. Not so much in New Zealand, but people are still can be ignorant. I know that it exists, but at the same time, I can't help but jump back and think, well, if I see a sandwich in a shop, that's got natto in it, is that a misappropriation of my culture? I mean, am I allowed to have my culture appropriated? I love for someone to appropriate I mean, this is what happens with white people, but there again, you get into the whole issue about power relationships and minorities and all that sort of stuff, and can white people ever really be considered a minority when basically we have such a good run of things around the world, and all of that sort of stuff. But again, because I don't have that experience of really being a suffering minority, even when I've been a minority, I don't think I'm a suffering minority. So, it makes me kind of dismiss what I see appropriation discussed. It's just intuitively, just because I don't have that. But there again, people do assure me that, it can be hurtful and offensive. But, there again, I sure hope people don't get upset at sandwiches or stuff like that. Or again, this is to me an awkward photo, and I've lived in Japan 20 years, so believe me, I react probably similarly to our Japanese. A Japanese person would never take a photo that looks like that. But am I going to go and actually attack the photographer for offending my cultural sensitivities through their misappropriation of my adopted Japanese culture? No, that would be a real dick move. But some people do it. So that's what I think about that. So yeah. Nebraska Ferry, good point. It all comes out the same. That's actually, I love that. That's a great unifying and disgusting. It's a disgusting but unifying message at the same time. No matter how you appropriate the food, it all comes out the same. I like that. Tempura ice cream. Yeah, well, right. See, Caffeine Jedi. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's the deep fried bananas and stuff like that. Hell, the best food in the world comes about through misappropriation, right? So Giancarlo Sands, that's another. I'm seeing names I haven't seen before, by the way. Genji 931, that's another one. Marco Polo, the original food misappropriator, if he existed. But that's right. But exactly. So you could look at spaghetti as just being really racist towards Chinese people, or you could just enjoy it as spaghetti. And I think that's how I take sushi when I go overseas. Giancarlo Sands, I've never seen your name before. Welcome. It's good to have you here. I'm on here for 8 more minutes. I'm going to do a Japanese version of this at the top of the hour. But these are funny topics. So this is what I've been talking about on Facebook. People who are sad at seeing a white person on Ghost in the Shell. And I did expand this a little bit more. See, for me, this is the other issue that I have with this is I don't like this idea that American culture radiates out towards the world, that races need to be kind of neat and tidy as well. If she's upset at seeing white people faces, I'm assuming she'd also get upset at at mixed race faces. What if someone was like half Asian? Would that be Asian enough for her? Is this the sort of person whose parents would get angry if she married a white person or a black person? And it's that kind of feeling that I want to see a face that looks like me. That's what perpetuates this kind of social segregation, which is as bad now as it was when segregation was actually legally enforced in America. That America hasn't desegregated that much at all. And you take countries like, for example, in New Zealand, like 30% of the country qualifies as having some sort of touch of Maori heritage. There's a lot of intermarriage in New Zealand, nothing like it in Australia or Canada, but a lot in New Zealand. So when I grew up in army towns where, most of the class had some Maori heritage. I'm used to being around a lot of mixed race kids. I was the weirdo who didn't have that heritage. You go to Brazil, you go, South America, everybody's got lots of mixed sort of backgrounds. I don't know, it's kind of like, I wish we could get into this thing where, the little girl reflects more on the characters for who they are, which is what I think a lot of people who like anime, they like about anime. You have anime set in a sci-fi future world. People have black hair, blonde hair, green hair, pink hair. They have, foreign names and local names. And the whole idea is, this is set in Japan in the future. My son, he's third culture. He doesn't look like my wife or me, but would his face be upsetting to this little racist girl who wants to see a Chinese-looking person? Seriously. It shouldn't fucking matter if you ask me, if this person's face is not racially pure enough. And the idea that, in America, that you have casting, if you want to be in a movie, you all the talent forms, you have to indicate what race you are. And if you put that you're half Japanese and half New Zealand, or you're half black and half Asian, hell, they wouldn't know what to do with you. How fucked up is that? Seriously. The idea that this girl is sad because Scarlett Johansson is white, it does that to me. So all these sorts of things, Lysander 45 is like, people are like socks, I suppose. People like to not mix them up with different colours. Well, see, to me that's bullshit. I mean, maybe I'm too much of an optimist and idealist about that sort of thing, but that's where I come from on that sort of stuff. This is pretty cool. This is the Mario Kart thing, and yeah, it exists, but they can't quite wear all the Mario stuff anymore because they're getting sued by Nintendo for breach of copyright, because they actually were wearing Mario suits without permission. Hopefully it will continue. This does look like a lot of fun. I want to try this out, but yeah. Oh, this is awesome, by the way. This was like from a few days ago now. SpaceX announced this week that they, like within next year, are going to fly 2 people around the moon. And then Jeff Bezos came out and said, hey, we're going to build like an Amazon factory on the moon or something like that. Oh, holy shit, all of a sudden by 2020 there's going to be people going back to the moon. I mean, for all of the dark, horrible shit coming out of America at the moment, between Elon Musk and all these other guys at the moment who are just like doing all of this awesome space shit, all is forgiven, America. Seriously, if you can start sending regular trips around the moon and preparing for a Mars trip, I can forgive a lot, pretty much most of the other bullshit coming out of America at the moment. This is like amazing, and all my life, you know, I was born pretty much, I think, the year that they decided, I think they decided to run with the space shuttle in 1972. I think they were flying test versions of it the year that I was born, but pretty much my whole life we had the space shuttle, and to me the space shuttle was what I wanted to work on when I got older. But it's low Earth orbit, it's a, you know, it's a bus, and it didn't even meet its economic objectives. But we've always had the ability to go and fly the extra, you know, 300,000 K to the moon, and now they're doing this. So yeah, sometimes I fold my fingers as I gesture. I don't know. I'm aware of the camera. I'm thinking it's just me. It doesn't have any particular meaning. Cool son. I'm sorry if it's distracting, but it helps me to express this. Yes, this is my Mussolini thing, I guess. Yes, Caffeine Jedi, have a good night, and yes. Engaging 931, indeed, even mutants are people. So yeah, there's lots of cool stuff coming out of America. Uber traffic chaos, all this sort of stuff. Let me come back to the Twitter stuff. Anyway, I'm back. I'm going to be here every week. I will record right after this in Japanese for about 20 minutes. I'm going to do kind of a summary show. In fact, this would actually be more interesting to talk about maybe in Japanese than in English. So, Ko-san, hang around for that. Tanaka Taro will hang around for that. I will be doing that in Japanese very soon. If you've got questions, if you enjoy the music, is the music still playing? I hope it is. It is. This is Matagaijinka Life Cycles. This is another good track by Matagaijinka, who is also here. It's been great having all of you here today. Idiot Noob 1337. What do I think about the original moon landing? A hoax? I think it was the aliens. I wish I had hair like the alien guy who says that it was aliens. No, I don't think it was a hoax, and I'm quite looking forward to going to the moon myself and walking around before I die the Apollo 11 landing platform just to confirm that it wasn't. And that's why I think this stuff is awesome. So anyway, it's been great seeing you all. Stay tuned, same time, 11 p.m. or this time, 11 p.m. Japan time every week. Come and join me for Tokyo Tonight 2. There'll be more innovations, there'll be more cool background music. You can download all of this music from the Tokyo Digital Cruise page on SoundCloud, and you can put it in your own as your own background music on your videos if you dig it. If you like something that's mine, I'll give you a loop for it as well. It's great to see you guys. It's a really good turnout, especially given the Billy Jordan. You actually just touched on a topic that I really enjoy. I don't understand it well enough to talk about it without being an idiot, but string theories and what's going on in Switzerland. So you're talking about the quantum particle physics stuff, right? You're talking about CERN. There is some freaky ass shit actually happening with that at the moment, and I have thoughts on it. Giancarlo Sands, it's not clear how much it's going to cost. Japanese Ko Hoshino is going to be right after this, probably within 5 minutes of this finishing. Billy Jordan, my thoughts on that are, I think if we can, if at the moment, if you're talking about what I think you're talking about, and if they can prove that these quantum particles are popping in and out of dimensions that we can't see. That is some freaky shit. That's like the biggest like discovery like ever, and that's super exciting. So I hope that we'll get back to that another time. Anyway, did I talk about this before? Maybe that's what I talked about before. Billy Jordan. That's a great topic. Not that I know anything about it. Maybe I need to study. But yes. Also, I am on topic at least. I think that is some freaky ass shit. Actually, I'm very glad that you brought that up. Anyway, we are out of time for tonight. I'm going to be hanging around. I'll be back online in like 2 minutes if I can get this set up again. I'm going to be doing a Japanese show, just basically summarizing what I've just done. So look out for the link. I will tweet and Facebook the link. It'll be on my subscriptions as well. You'll see it in a minute. But otherwise, see you next week. And everybody have a good week there. Boom. Peace from Japan. I have to turn this thing off. There it is. Stop streaming. 55 minutes, 22 seconds. We're out. Boom. Yes, I'm sure I want to stop streaming. See ya.